And now the news. And this week, Bugatti and Porsche divorce, Audi and its 5-cylinder remarry, and there's a rat in your garage. Bugatti is no longer owned by the VW Group. Porsche sold off its 45% stake in the company and at the same time made some extra cash by selling its 20% stake in Rimac. What this means is that Rimac, with its 55% stake in Bugatti, will retain control of the company. Apparently Mate Rimac wanted to buy the shares off Porsche, but they gave him a big middle finger on the way out by selling their shares to a bunch of New York-based investment bros. Rimac himself was apparently grateful that he'd captured the majority of the shares before this deal went through, or else the next Bugatti adverts would have been discussing morning routines, side hustles, and what females of the species truly seek in an alpha male. But having dodged that possibly literal bullet coming out of New York, the adverts will now be more focused on the heritage of Bugatti and why right to repair is actually anti-consumer. Back to the seller though, Porsche and by extension VW are trying to simplify their operations given their recent financial struggles. They've raised potentially upwards of €1 billion from these sales, although that number is mostly speculation. They're looking to focus inwards now, meaning more volume sales of the same car wearing a different body. Although there is speculation that a 918 successor is in the works, so if that's true then an extra bill in the bank wouldn't hurt development at all. Bugatti meanwhile will just continue their current operations under Rimac. The company is apparently profitable now, and will be continuing deliveries of the Chiron successor, the Tourbillon, until the 250 unit limit is reached. Audi is doing its best to save its legendary 5-cylinder motor. This motor, in one guise or another, has been in existence since 1977 and has powered everything from the Audi 100 to the legendary Quattro to the current day RS3. In 1987, Audi even tested a 1000 horsepower version of this motor for the S1 Sport Quattro. So when you say 5-cylinder, you pronounce it as Audi. The motor was expected to be decommissioned thanks to the new Euro 7 standards coming out later this year, and I'll have a nice big rant about that in the future. But Audi has come out and said you can pry this motor out of our cold, dead hands. Audi Sports CEO Rolf Rolf has said that they're considering turning it into a hybrid. That should make it Euro 7 compliant and also allow Audi to not have to reduce some of their best performance cars to a 4-pot turbo.
Dad, what are you doing?
All right, Meg, this is only going to hurt for about 3 weeks. What the hell?
That there's my steer, Griffin.
The engine is currently only used in the RS3, so from outside it seems more like an emotional decision than a rational one, but having a 5-cylinder Euro 7 compliant engine could mean we see a whole generation of S or RS cars running it in the future, seeing as apparently these days we're only allowed to have muted fun in Europe. Your car is indeed tracking every movement you make through the GPS. It might not come as a surprise to some, but that doesn't mean it isn't worth making a noise about. A cybersecurity firm wanted to see how much location data they could get directly from a vehicle. So they picked up a telematics control unit, or TCU, from a BYD seal that got written off and started picking it apart. And if you're asking why BYD, it's because Chinese cars have raised security issues, to no one's surprise. Anyway, they hacked into this thing with apparently very little effort, and were able to track the car's life from its birth in a factory in China, to its death in the UK, to its scrapping in Poland. They could, from the data, identify the previous owner's home, place of work, and other key locations in their life. They could even go as far as to work out where the car was murdered. They found a bunch of spots in the GPS in the same location. Then, through hunting online through publicly available data, they found a Facebook post that spoke about an accident and showed pictures of this very car on its side. So effectively, the entire history of this car was logged and saved, and by being able to buy the TCU from a scrapyard, a company could use basic techniques to get this car's entire GPS history. What did I say like 2 weeks back? Actually, none of you would know because you didn't go watch the damn video. And yes, I will continue to shout about that video. Not because I'm worried about the numbers, but because I genuinely believe I have foretold the future in it. My wife told me literally this week she got a suggestion from Google to see the McDonald's menu, and she is a McDonald's on her drive to work. This is happening. Granted, that was on her phone, but I guarantee that's just the start. And when it does happen, I expect you all to start referring to me as Nostradamus. Actually, you know what? It's time for the hat again. It's been a while since I got this hat on. And frankly, it's probably well overdue. So, we're going to get the hat out, and we're going to do this. Because it is necessary. We know that companies like Facebook and Google build profiles on you to learn your likes and dislikes, even if you don't actually have an account with them. We know that OEMs are looking to make huge money with AI by scanning you in your own car. And here we have it now, that GPS-enabled cars are tracking the car's entire life. With software-defined vehicles slowly becoming the norm, your car's account is going to be like a Google account. It'll move between vehicles, but it'll still hold every piece of data on you. Except it goes a step further than that, because OEMs want microphones and cameras to listen to you and read your body language. And on top of it, they're not even securing this data right, because apparently anyone with a bit of free time can go to the scrapyard and learn about your entire life with that car. Actually, let's take it a step further. What's to say there won't be a market for buying scrap parts to pull data off them? Third parties can do this and then sell that data to the manufacturers. If they can link it back to a home address, they can use data brokers to figure out whose home address it is and to advertise to them directly. Hell, if you trade your car in and let's say it's a Nissan and you're at a VW dealership, what's to say VW doesn't find a way to pull the data off that trade-in so they can store it before reselling the car again? The opportunities for abuse are endless. Just last year, GM was caught selling data it pulled off of its customers. Now, Ford and Stellantis are being investigated for the exact same thing. Seriously, go buy yourself an old car from before all of this software-defined bullshit became a thing, and just suck up the cost of repairs and maintenance. You'll probably have a higher quality vehicle than the cheap plastic boxes coming out of most manufacturers these days anyway. And at least you know the purpose of the car is to move you, not move your data. Even though the press release doesn't mention it, Hyundai has revived the Veloster. It's come unsurprisingly in the shape of an EV named the Ioniq 3. The car borrows heavily from the Concept 3 concept car, which itself just looks like a futurized Veloster. To me, it just looks like somebody smashed an Ioniq 6 with a Veloster and called it a day. I don't really know what to think of the car because it looks somehow nice and not nice at the same time. It gives off a pocket rocket vibe in the same way the old Honda CRX did, where the dimensions don't look right but somehow it works. But then if I put it to the test of would I want to walk out in the morning and see this on my driveway, I don't really think I would. I don't know, maybe it's just a car that's best seen with someone else driving it. The interior is a bit easier though. It doesn't look like a nice place to be. It has physical buttons, so good, but then it's combined with air vents that look like a Logitech sound system from 15 years ago. Then you have the screens, which just look glued on. I know that's been a trend for a while, but just because it's a trend doesn't mean it's a good one. Call me traditionalist, but I'd rather have a dashboard that actually focuses on the driver, as opposed to here, where the driver feels like an irritating last-minute consideration versus the needs of the rest of the passengers. And that carve into the dashboard might be good for putting things in, but to me it looks like, you know when you put your hand under a blanket and you make movements like it's a mouth that's talking? Yeah, that. I just can't get that image out of my head whenever I see it. Anyway, away from that, let's have a quick look at the specs. The car's drag coefficient combined with decent batteries mean ranges of between 344 and 496 kilometers on a charge. That depends on whether you have the standard or the long range version. It can charge from 10 to 80% in half an hour on a DC fast charger, and with 144-ish horsepower, it'll get you to 100 kilometers an hour in around 9 seconds. The car is only for Europe, hence the fairly boring stats, but that hasn't stopped every American news outlet from whining about not getting it. I'm not going to dive into why, but it's pretty obvious, and I'm very much a believer of sleeping in the bed that you made. The Stellantis Hu Akbar engine has sprouted yet another fault. Seriously, if you have a vehicle with this motor, just sell it. Or switch to getting a donkey to pull it instead. The DV5's latest act of terrorism is to pump exhaust fumes into the engine bay because of a loose sensor. This could cause a fire as per. Affected vehicles are unsurprisingly all vans, so the Opel Combo, the Peugeot Partner/Rifter, and the Citroën Berlingo. Not content with only one entry this week, Stellantis has put forward the same vehicles for more recalls. I don't fully understand this if I'm honest, but apparently vehicles without a bulkhead don't have a double seat back. What I do understand is that a rear end smash could send the driver flying out of the vehicle, so that's great. And completing the podium this week, we have Stellantis. Some Ram 2500 models have a faulty steering column control module that has its own opinion about whether stability control should be on or off. That should make for some fun times for the parts of America that haven't realized it isn't winter anymore. Lastly, we have no we don't. Jaguar Land Rover has said no thanks to having any of its cars working. Companies like Stellantis may have the consistency nailed down in this segment, but JLR definitely has the impact. Basically every mild hybrid they make has caught this cold, with vehicles affected having a fault in their DC to DC converter that causes a power loss in the 12-volt system. That will cause a loss of power and external lighting, which in theory should just mean a nice gentle coast until you stop, but as always with recalls, they make the point that you could crash as well. Affected vehicles are deep breath, Range Rover Velar, Range Rover Evoque, Range Rover Sport, Range Rover, Land Rover Discovery Sport, Land Rover Discovery, Land Rover Defender, Jaguar F-Pace, and Jaguar E-Pace. There haven't actually been any reported accidents because of this, and given the length of time that this has gone on for, this probably is a low-risk issue, but apparently the warranty claims for this have been in the thousands. The good news for owners is that because this is classified as a safety issue, it'll get fixed even if you're outside your warranty period. That means you can keep looking rich without having to foot the entire bill of an out-of-warranty Range Rover. And that is the end of the news.